What's going on, guys? Hope you're all doing well. Now we are finally getting back to our regularly scheduled keyboard videos around here. So in this one, I'll be showing you how to do the triple gasket mod for your GMMK Pro. This one, of course, is inspired by a video that I saw from Chad of all trades. I'll go a little bit more in depth than he does in his video and show you how to do everything step by step so you can finally get a little bit of flex in your GMMK Pro. So the first thing you're going to want to do is grab your GMMK Pro. It's a little bit difficult to do a keyboard mod without a keyboard, of course. So for those of you that have seen some of my other videos, you may notice that I have a new keycap set. This one comes from Acco. So while I'm plugging this in, let me just quickly fill you in on what I think the biggest downside of this keyboard is its shocking lack of flex, especially for a gasket mounted design. So let me further demonstrate to you what I'm talking about. So you can see no matter what I do to this G key, the keyboard just does not move. In fact, I'd say it's stiffer than Mark Zuckerberg giving congressional testimony. So what can we do about this? Well, if my camera ever decides that it wants to focus again, I could show you guys the additional gasket strips that the GMMK Pro kit does come with. And for this mod, we're going to be using almost all of them. So let me just quickly get this bag open so you guys can see them better. And if I had to summarize what they feel like, it's sort of a squishy neoprene type material. So the first two things that I'm going to show you aren't necessary for this mod, but they're never a bad idea to have on hand, which of course is a switch and keycap puller. So I'm going to put those off to the side and we can focus on what we do need. So the first thing are the gaskets, duh, and you can see just how flexible they are. And when I turn it around, it also has an adhesive backing. So I'll just put that down. The second thing is either a Phillips screwdriver or a tool kit like this from iFixit, for example. And once you take the top off, it looks great on video, so let me just show that off accordingly. There we go. This next thing isn't necessary, but you are going to be here for a little while, so why not make yourself a cup of tea? So this mod is going to start off just like any other change you'd want to make to the interior of this keyboard. First, take that knob off. And then you can flip it over to the back side where you can get started on the 8 screws that hold the top and bottom plate together. And then you can bring your screwdriver kit into the frame to make it more aesthetically pleasing. Just pop it out of the case and know exactly which bit it is first try. So let's get started removing this hardware, and through the magic of video editing we can fast forward through this.
Later.
So all 8 screws have been removed. You just want to be careful and hold the top and bottom plate together as you rotate it back to the front. Take a little bit of care removing the top of the case. Wouldn't want to damage your brand new keycap set, for example. Well, once I flip this over, you can see the gaskets that the GMMK Pro does ship with. We're actually not going to be touching any of these, so I'm going to put this off to the side for the moment. As I'm sure you guys are already aware, you want to be very careful disconnecting the PCB from the daughter board below. But once that is done, you can go ahead and put that off to the side as well. The gaskets on the bottom plate of the keyboard are what we're focused on. I don't think I have to point out every single one, you guys get the idea. But basically we are going to be adding 2 additional gaskets at each location, and that extra depth is what gives the keyboard room to flex. So go ahead and grab those gaskets once more. The best technique that I've found is you kind of want to fold the sheet and just go in with your nail and grab each strip. It may help if you have a little bit more nimble fingers than I do. So there's no real technique here, you just want to match the gasket underneath as closely as possible. I'd recommend you start at one end and then slowly work your way down to the other, and then once you're satisfied you can press the adhesive into place. And unless you're recording it for a video, for example, no one will notice any small imperfections once the case is closed. So let me give you a little bit of a closer view of what I'm talking about. Again, if your finger dexterity is a little bit better than mine, you may have an easier go of it. Leave the gaskets at the corners to be installed last. Once everything else is complete, run a quick mark down the center of the back side of the sheet. Grab your best pair of scissors and get to cutting. Once the corners are in place, we can get started on actually having a usable keyboard again. It's also important to note that to get the best results from this mod, you're going to want to remove all of the internal screws as well. So doing everything in the reverse order, we can once again reattach the PCB to the daughter board. Be a little cautious when putting the top of the case back on. Just kind of massage it back into place if that makes sense. Put the knob into place, and no, I won't say how many times it took to get it that smooth. This is where my video and the one that I was referencing earlier are going to differ. I'll be putting all the case screws back in. Jad only uses the hardware at the corners of the board, so you are free to experiment and see what you like best.
2 hours later.
You're going to get the most flex out of this mod with the screws just barely threading. Once you see the separation between the top and bottom of the case, like here on the side and the back for example, you'll know that you're on the right track. Something like this should be the result. Perhaps we'll see some improvements if Glorious ever decides to release a version 2 of this board. I'll smash the G key once more, and let's be honest, it's not too different from how I type usually. So I use heavy switches to mask my terrible typing technique, so anything that makes bottoming out a little softer is always appreciated. Guys, that's going to do it for this one. Don't be afraid to hit that like or subscribe button if you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.